So given that Reading Month does coincide with the holy month of Ramadan this year, means our kids are going to be home more, how can we make reading a go-to for them? We're delighted to be joined in the studio by Grace Karim, who's the co-founder of Bookends, a Preloved bookstore, as we talk about what does it take to make books a hobby rather than a chore. Grace, tell us a little bit about your love of books growing up. Were you like Isabel and always had your nose in one, or did it come a bit later in life?
Thank you, first of all, for having me on the show, Helen.
Pleasure. I always love to meet a fellow reader. But where did it start for you, Grace?
For me, it started when I was a little girl. My dad used to always buy me books. I used to read in Arabic and French mostly. And for me, it was a pleasure. It never was a duty that I have to do, whether it was for school or at home. So I am an avid reader to the point that I jobbed my love and founded Bookends. So I can't talk more about it.
But isn't that the fantasy of so many bookworms? Like, one day I'm going to have a bookshop. And has that lived up to your childhood dreams?
It was my dream that came true when we founded Bookends with Somya, my partner.
Tell us a little bit about the shop itself and I guess your purpose, Grace, because it's not just about selling the latest, bestseller, is it?
Actually, you don't find the latest with us because we are a pre-loved. So you have to have the latest first, read it, and then pass it on to us for us to have it available for others. First of all, our love for the business is because we wanted people to read more. We wanted our children to read more. That's the first purpose. The second one is we want to pass on that same book from one home to another one until it is ready to go for recycling. We don't want to see books that are gone into the landfill. So we're doing our part to save our planet. And for the last 5 years of our operation, we managed to rehome more than 120,000 books.
Wow.
So just imagine the impact.
Mike, I mean, from a sustainability point, incredible. But as you say, from it being meaningful to families who perhaps, going in to buy a book in a shop that's brand new is just simply not possible. Cost can be a real barrier for a lot of people, I'm sure.
Absolutely. This is how it started. Somya and myself, we are friends. We used to agree, you buy book 1, I buy book 2, and then we swap it for our own children. And, kids at young age, before you reach home, they finish the book, Mom, what is next, and so on.
This is my daughter right now. She's just turned 8. And I bought her the new Dog Man, and it was done. And I'm not even joking. It was done within about 20 minutes. So I was like, well, that's 50 dirhams that I'm not going to get back. So do you know what we've done? Children's book club. So
we should, yes.
The 8-year-olds are getting together once a month at someone's house and they each bring 4 books that they've written their name in and they do a little book swap.
This is what we do at Bookends. We encourage the young kids to become young entrepreneurs. So what they do is we encourage them to bring their books to us. And then they can follow up with the form that they get at the end of each month. How many books are sold, how much money I have, which book is not selling, and so on.
Oh.
From that credit, they have the possibility to buy other titles, whether it is from our flagship store or from our online.
Well, get ready for the junior farmer to come over with an absolute box full. Well, 2 things I hear from people. One is, when do I find time to read? Because I like to share the books I'm reading on Instagram because I love a recommendation. And the other thing is, whenever I share about my own kids reading, it's how do you get kids to love books? And I wondered, as both a book lover and a mum, if you had any advice for anyone who might be facing those same frustrations.
I need to be honest with you and tell you that this question is an everyday question from our customers. How can I encourage my son or my daughter to read? And for us, it should not be a duty. That's to start with. They should love the book that they are reading or the story that they are picking. You know how you have new movies coming out and then everyone is excited? Why? Because everyone is talking about it. So if there is a certain book let everyone talk about this book. So the kids are excited to read that because they want to be part of the trend, the new trend that is coming out. So this is one thing. Second, not all kids like to read the same books. One book for certain is not a piece of cake for someone else. Therefore, they need to find the book that they connect with, the story that they connect with, resonate with them. And this is by exposing them to different literature and different type of books. And there are endless choices for children, you know.
I think going into a bookshop or a library is just the most magical thing because, as you say, there's no one size fits all. And often it can be a case of finding, what is their hobby, what they're interested in. Why not read a book about football or Fortnite or whatever that might be as a jumping off point. And I feel like we've got a lot of snobbery around it. And, not all children are going to be reading the classics. I haven't read a lot of the classics. I think a lot of grown-ups are like, I haven't read any Dickens, but, I just want to read a book that I look forward to reading at the end of the day, that I can, sit on a sun lounger or have half an hour just to decompress before bedtime. And there's also this kind of idea that not all adults read for pleasure. And that's okay too. We shouldn't be forcing on our children to say, this is the standard that we're expecting from you. And, my kids didn't really come to reading until actually quite recently. And I felt a bit guilty about it, going, well, I'd always romanticized this idea of my children being these little bookworms, and that just wasn't really happening. And then I think in honesty, Grace, if I'd forced them and said, right, school says you've got to do 20 minutes of reading every day, that would have had the absolute opposite effect. What's been popular in Bookends? What do you see coming in and just flying off the shelves with children and adults? What are you seeing?
For children, obviously the latest trends like Dogman, Wimpy Kid, Dog Diaries, those they fly the minute they are on the shelves. And for adults, the top category is the self-help.
Interesting.
Because self-help books are really very expensive. And with us, you're paying less than half the price, sometimes 10% of the price. So people know that when a book is online, it is only one as quantity. Because if I am receiving your book, Helen, you're going to buy Ikigai only one time. So if Ikigai is online, it means it's online only once. So people rush to get it before it gets sold.
Super interesting.
So in our flagship store in Silicon Oasis, we have about 8,000 books. It means 8,000 different titles. We don't have books in quantities. Having said that, we do encourage local authors who are living in the UAE, and we sell their books because we believe that a new book journey has to start somewhere.
I'll send
Why
you mine.
not starting at Bookends,
I just wondered if you had like 50 copies of the Prince Harry spare books. I felt like a lot of people read those and then kind of quickly discarded them. But I love the idea of there being 8,000 because that's a sense of discovery as well as a book lover, to go into a store and have this idea of thrift and treasure hunting. Does that make sense? It's not just about necessarily what you walk out with, but that sense of finding it.
Absolutely.
A message here saying, I went to the Silent Book Club yesterday. It was so good to actually book time for myself and read guilt-free. It's on every month, and young children are far more keen to read. It's so hard to keep their enthusiasm when they reach secondary, when there's more distractions. Now, you've got boys who are a little bit older. Did you find that their interest in books kind of dropped off a little bit during those teenage years?
It did, especially with the boys more than the girls. However, my son finished his university, and now he is back to reading without me intervening in this. He is just buying books and reading, and mostly self-help and non-fiction books. And I can't take the credit. I don't have anything. But he used to read Harry Potter books when he was in year 3. So it is in him. And even if he left it, he got back to it without an encouragement from his mom.
Last question. Do you have a recommendation for us? What was the last great book that you loved, or what's on your bedside table right now, Grace Karim?
Before I say that, can I say one more thing? If your child does not like to read, what we do, and it worked, we tell the parents, bring them to our store to volunteer in just, arranging the shelves. and guaranteed they will walk out with a book in hand. They will get encouraged. So if they are exposed to different titles and different books everywhere on the tables at home, they will get encouraged, whether it is the title of the book, the color, or anything. They will get excited once they are exposed.
And also, as parents, we can't be like, you need to read more, and then we're sitting there scrolling TikTok. So lastly, a book recommendation, Grace.
Okay, self-help are always the top of my list. However, when I'm reading a self-help, I read a fiction book at the same time.
Me too, or I alternate.
Exactly. So at the moment, I'm reading a fiction called Mr. and Mrs. Christmas.
Ooh.
And greatly for Brené Brown. It's a beautiful book.
She's amazing.
I just started that one.
I love Brené. I woke up yesterday morning, over the weekend, to get a notification to say that the book I'd pre-ordered had arrived and I'd forgotten I'd done it. So I'm looking forward to this week getting into the pages of the new Curtis Sittenfeld. It's called Show, Don't Tell. So always love recommendation from you. Thank you to the message we had about the Silent Book Club. I've had a photo here. It says every month at Raw Coffee, you can just go and be together. It says everyone is welcome and the event is free. Love the sound of that. Grace Karim, if people want to send me the word book, can I send them the details of Bookends for donations and coming along and discovering your treasure trove?
Absolutely. And I ask them also to enjoy the giving campaign that we have. So you come to the store, there are books that are bought by other readers. You pick one of them and then you buy another book. It doesn't matter what is the value. You buy it and you replace it on the table for someone else to come and read it.
Love it. Grace, thank you so much. Really
Thank you for
appreciate it.
having me.
Happy month of reading. I'm sure we're going to be talking books more during the course of the month of March.